London, December 1952. A yellow fog creeps through the streets. Streetlights flicker, engines fall silent, people cough, and no one knows what's coming over the city. What starts as ordinary winter fog quickly turns into a nightmare that takes the lives of over 12,000 people. The cause? Invisible, everyday, and man-made. London in the 1950s, a city rebuilding itself. After World War II, this big city was slowly getting back on its feet. The streets were busy with horse-drawn carriages sharing space with the first modern cars. But the sky above the city was gray. Millions of people were heating their homes with coal. It was cheap, but it was sooty and full of sulfur. The wind carried the smoke over the rooftops, and the city smelled like ash and metal. On cold days, the haze would be so thick you could barely see Big Ben. Londoners called it pea soup fog. But this December was different. On the morning of December 5th, an unusually thick fog rolled in. At first, people weren't too worried. They were used to worse. But within hours, the fog grew darker, heavier, and more poisonous. Buses stopped. Drivers turned off their engines. Horses refused to move forward. And as the bells of St. Paul's Cathedral echoed dully through the smog, an invisible disaster began. What no one knows is that the fog isn't just damp air. It's a chemical mix of death and technology. In the years after the war, London used low-quality coal, rich in sulfur. When it burns, it creates sulfur dioxide, invisible, odorless, but dangerous. The air is damp, temperatures drop, and a high-pressure system settles over the city like a lid. The smoke can't escape. Chemists in later decades found that sulfur dioxide combines with water vapor to form sulfuric acid. Tiny acid droplets cling to soot particles, a deadly cocktail. In the first few hours, hardly anyone notices. But then people start coughing. Hospitals fill up. Babies can't breathe. In some places, visibility is less than a yard. Trains move at a snail's pace. Bus drivers walk in front of their vehicles with lanterns guiding them. The city is suffocating, silently, slowly, mercilessly. In the days that followed, the fog spread like a blanket of poison. London disappeared into the gray. The sun was gone. Even at noon, it stayed dark. Ambulances got stuck, operations were canceled, and students sat in cold classrooms. Life came to a standstill. Doctors were puzzled. Many first thought it was a flu outbreak. But the symptoms didn't fit. Burning in the lungs, dizziness, trouble breathing. People were dying, not from sickness, but from the air itself. A witness, who was 14 years old at the time, later remembered,
"I stood on the bridge over the Thames. I couldn't see the water, even though I knew it was there."
After 4 days of horror, over 4,000 deaths were counted. But the true extent only became clear weeks later, as thousands more died from long-term effects: pneumonia, heart failure, chronic shortness of breath. London grinds to a halt. Planes can't take off. Trains are stuck at stations. The Royal Opera cancels shows. The city is covered in a gray blanket that even swallows light. Police officers guide pedestrians with ropes so they don't get lost. In theaters, the audience sits with face masks on. On the streets, buses creep along at a snail's pace, led by men with torches. Inside homes, the fog seeps through windows and doors. It settles on furniture, on clothes, on skin. People wake up with black mucus in their noses. And yet, the government stays silent. Prime Minister Churchill underestimates the situation. They don't want to cause panic. It's only when international newspapers report on the killer fog that the true scale becomes public. A reporter for The Times writes,
"London has become a ghost town. We only hear the coughing of people and the distant ringing of bells."
After the fog finally cleared, life slowly returned to normal, but the damage was shocking. More than 12,000 people had died and 100,000 were sick. Scientists began to investigate. Why was this fog deadlier than any before? Meteorologists discovered a rare weather event had trapped the smog in the city, something called an inversion layer. The cold air near the ground couldn't escape, and warm air above it blocked the pollution from rising. Doctors realized this was a new kind of pollution problem. Tiny particles, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides. Invisible, but deadly. These findings led to the Clean Air Act in 1956, one of the most important environmental laws in the world. For the first time, clean air became a government responsibility. Industries had to install filters, fuels were regulated, and cities were encouraged to become greener. London slowly but surely began to change for the better. The Great Smog of 1952 remains a powerful reminder, not just for London, but for the whole world. It shows us how dangerous not caring can be, and how closely progress and responsibility are linked. Today, smog alerts and clean air plans are normal, but the air we breathe is still delicate. The story of the Great Smog reminds us that even the biggest cities in the world aren't stronger than the air around them. And that true civilization only begins when we learn to respect nature's invisible boundaries. If this story touched you, subscribe to Mystery Unveiled and discover more hidden chapters of our world's history, because every puzzle from the past tells us something about our future. As a closing line appears on screen,